Good morning, welcome back. This is Daybreak and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, and at Ayub Abdikadir. On my far right is Dr. Simiyu Werunga, who is an international security studies expert. Good morning, Dr.
Morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast.
It's been a while.
And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Been a while indeed. Hussein Abdibari is the lawmaker representing Tarbaj constituency from the county of Wajir. Good morning.
Morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast. Also, his constituency borders Somalia. Byron Adera is security consultant, joins us this morning here as well on the broadcast. Good morning, Byron.
Morning to you.
Lovely having you. And Abdul Haro is the MP, Mandera South constituency, one of the other constituencies that also borders neighboring Somalia and has experienced Al-Shabaab attacks. So, gentlemen, let's focus on the events of the past week, and starting off with what happened on Monday when Al-Shabaab militants killed yet another National Police reservist hours after murdering 6 in Garissa County. That was in Fafi sub-county, where the terror organization had killed the reservist in Biamado area, to be specific. Dr. starting with you, should this raise the red flag and alarm to the effect that it could be consequential security-wise?
Yes, one is the fact that they have the courage now to attack armed police officers. That to anybody who studies issues of security should be worried. I know they've done it for a long time, but first to attack and kill about 5, then they become like consistent. After a day or 2, they still come back. They want to attack an armed police officer. Anybody who thinks about how this terror organization has been terrorizing this country should start thinking. But in the context of what we understand about Al-Shabaab, it's not such a big concern.
Yeah.
I think it should be the fact that how is it happening that for many years we still have the same problems? Is there a problem? Is there something we're not doing right? Is there something the country is not doing right? And what is it that we need to do? Because we've been doing so many things for a very long time, but we don't seem to be getting rid of these fellows. And then thirdly, I think even as we speak as a country, we must contextualize our neighbors.
Yeah.
Is it that what is happening across is being manifested also in our country? And as a country, we can go far beyond our borders in terms of coming up with strategies to deal with Al-Shabaab. So is it that we are not talking well to our neighbors? Or is it that the fact that we send our troops across and we don't seem to be synergizing our efforts across the border and inside the border? So there are many things I think any security analyst should be looking at. As a way of, to me, we need to look at changing things. Like they say in English, you can't be doing the same things and expect different results. I've been involved in this issue for a very long time, and I don't think there's anything new we might discuss that can change things, except now looking at how we need to deal with this issue in the surrounding circumstances, in the current context, and bearing in mind that just the other day they wanted to kill the president of Somalia. So when you look at all these things, they tie together because it's the same. And then lastly, I don't know that you people you've been reading about USAID.
Yes.
You know, we were shocked when we were told they've also been giving money to Al-Shabaab. I don't know that you people read that thing.
Yeah.
So there are many things that we look at, and as a country, I'm not sure whether we have contextualized our problem for such a long time, and whether we are putting in perimeters within which we need to operate and deal with Al-Shabaab. And lastly, Abdikadir, as we speak, Al-Shabaab has never been designated as a terror organization by the British, by the Americans, and the UN conventions. And this is something I think Kenya has been fighting for a long time. Why do I say that? Because the moment you designate this organization as a terror organization, even the efforts and the styles and systems you deal with them will change. But right now we are dealing with them as an organization that's giving us insecurity problems. And that's why we cannot get even serious support from our friends, because they have refused to designate Al-Shabaab as a terror organization.
We'll look at it from the context of the global order, and of course, since the Trump administration came to office in January, and also study its anatomy and the efforts by the Kenya Defense Forces since 2011. Honorable Hussein, what's the feedback from the people of Tarbaj, given that your constituency lies along the border with Somalia and did experience a couple of attacks from this militant organization?
Thank you, Ayub. This challenge of Al-Shabaab is across the region. However, if I speak for Tarbaj constituency, we've got an improved environment in Tarbaj constituency, largely because of some change of tactic. Part of it is actually closer working relation between the security agencies and the public, and also adopting a different way of pursuing these criminals. For instance, we're using the NPRs actually who flock, and the SOGs who walk instead of taking vehicles, walk and pursue them to wherever they are reported to be. So with that change of tactic and the close interaction between the public and the security agents has really improved the situation. I remember when during the campaign, the current president was the DP and he was visiting my constituency. And advice across the security agencies was that he should never step there because his life is going to be at risk. But the man as he is, he said he will go there. He went there, and that was actually the change that we realized from then on, because even the administrators and the security agencies were more comfortable or challenged to go to the grassroots. I've also adopted a strategy where I take all the security agencies to different settlements for different occasions. Okay. So with that interaction and exposure of the different security agencies to different parts of my constituency for different functions, okay, has really improved the situation.
Okay, but Byron, before we come to the anatomy of this organization, which was an offshoot of the Islamic Courts Union in 2006 before the Ethiopian invasion of Somalia, is the investment in community policing and the harvesting of information paying off, given what we have seen recently?
Well, the investment in community policing, I think, is suffering, largely speaking. Of course, I'm really happy with the examples that are given here, and we had a chat backstage at the VIP lounge. And some of what he's saying is actually pointing in the right direction, and that's what should actually happen if you are to take a blueprint of the community policing infrastructure in general, because that is where you need, and if you expand the scopes of this discussion and you're talking about the structural violence theory and the way it plays out at the bottom end, is the very fact that the fragmentation that's witnessed with the stakeholders and the general populace clearly are the major stakeholders in the security architecture. Because when it comes to the suffering, we are now talking about the chiefs that are taken across. Yeah. If we are talking about the people who bear the biggest brunt of the attacks and all the killings that we are talking about here, is the general populace. And part of that discussion that we've had consistently is the very fact that we don't have those collaborative networks work with the kind of impetus that's required, because we are not, not paying dividends to the kind of closeness that you'd want the national government, so to speak, and extending its arm through the relevant security actors. So say the police, say the NPR, say the relevant authorities that need to bring that cool calm among the populace, the general populace, to one, have the motives to share credible information. Okay. Because what we asked, Captain Chad Simiu Erunga, and I'm speaking as a special forces operator here, is the very fact that there's been acrimony, so the acrimonious kind of engagements between the relevant security actors and the populace. So you see a police officer, and what you see is, oh, I need to back off. Okay. You see an army person, and you say, oh, wow, now they've come for us. And because of the learned experiences out of observations and what has happened in the past. So I'm really happy with what the MP is doing, Honorable Member of Parliament, is doing with regards to encouraging that interworking relationships, so collaborative networks, and getting the people to actually go to the ground, share credible information, share in thoughts as to why and how to police our environments in a manner that then milks dry the reservoirs for these terror organizations to operate with what you'd say, increased mobility and freedom of movement or maneuver, so to speak. Okay.
Honorable Haro, it's in your constituency where the chiefs were abducted?
Yes.
From where the chiefs were abducted?
Yes, yes.
Tell us, give us a picture of this and the other concerns that border on the threats posed by this group in your constituency.
Well, let me say, we had quite some period of lull, and then all of a sudden we see some kind of a trend towards a scary kind of an environment. First of all, it's the first time in the history of this country for 5 chiefs to be abducted from a particular county or even a particular constituency or even a sub-county. All those chiefs were from one sub-county in my constituency. And up to now, they're still in the hands of their captors. Ayub, let me say, first of all, it's good to understand that those of us who are living close to the Kenya-Somalia border have very unique challenges, which other Kenyans will find it very difficult to appreciate. First of all, we are the first line of defense for this country. And like Dr. Virunga had said, basically, is it the strategies of how to deal with this problem that we are getting it wrong? Or is it that there are new dynamics which you have failed to identify? Or is it the context, the systemic nature of this conflict where things happening in Somalia have influence on things happening on this side of the border? Or is it inadequacy of us trying to identify what sort of a security we are dealing with? And it is for whose security that we are dealing with? Picture this, Hussein, Ayub, from 3rd February to 24th March, just in a span of almost 4 weeks, we've had 3 major attacks in my constituency in one particular area, area between Elwak and Wargadut. It is the same area where the chiefs were abducted. It is the same area where the 3 civilians were abducted a week ago. And it is the same area where an NPR was killed just 2 days ago.
Okay.
And this shows, the strategy that the Al-Shabaab is now adopting. When you think they've attacked this place, they will not come back in the near future. They come back again the following day. They come back again the following day. The same thing they've done in Garissa.
Okay.
And this changing strategy calls for a changing strategy in the way we deal with these people, in the way we view the entire security of what we are dealing with. And of course, like in the area where these attacks have happened, I must tell you, we are not short of security agencies in that area.
All right.
There's an army camp, there's a border patrol unit camp, there is police units around that area. But Al-Shabaab are still infiltrating and causing harm.
Okay. And Dr. Simiyu, then, does this take us to the point of then understanding the anthropology here? Because there isn't any difficulty. The communities along the border share the same language, culture, tradition, religion, food. Should there be more, again, investment and focus on now this area? We'll talk about the global aspect of it, so that the concerns raised by Honorable Haro here can be addressed because of easy identification and access to information thereof, because the people are more or less the same, but divided by that border courtesy of colonialism. Should that be our next point of focus?
Yes, because one thing I can tell you, that is one of the most difficult things to deal with. Dealing with the, do we call it a monogamous? A community that is the same, they preach the same mosques, they eat the same food, they go across to do businesses. That is one of the most difficult things I think you can deal with in terms of venturing into security operations. But I also want to say this. The fact that we've been dealing with these issues for such a long time, using the same systems, although with a lot of improvements in terms of how the security sector has been improved, in terms of tactics, I think the best thing, like Mheshimiwa said here, there's something, Abdikadir, that we have not invested enough, and that is community policing. One thing about community policing, there's an aspect under the law that speaks about county policing authority. When I was in the task force, we decided, because I think the government was having problems with the word authority, we suggested that we call it a county policing forum. You see, when you remove the word authority, then you remove the governor from the space. Then you create a forum at the county level that is responsible to the police commander, responsible to the intelligence person, so that at the end of the day as an MP, because I think under the, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have some money under CDF.
Security.
Under NGC, there's some money inside that thing. If they can pull their resources together, assist the government through these community policing forums, And I can tell you, we've worked around the world, and community policing forums work very effectively. I think the biggest problem we have is that we've been dilly-dallying as a country to establish these forums at the county level. What does that do? We are trying to surrender a bit of our security issues to our elected members of parliament, and we must trust them, because these are people who have been elected by people. I think the biggest problem has been the government has for a long time been worried about surrendering these issues of security to the governor and to the MPs at that level. But we said for us to have, because it is now in law, community policing is an alternate policing mechanism. We have the International Convention System of Policing, but we said for us to be able in certain areas like now where we have issues of Al-Shabaab, where you cannot identify an Al-Shabaab person because he looks like me, then let's use the people, give them power through these forums so that they are able to be discussing these things, not necessarily to report to the OCS, but to determine what they want to do in terms of their localized security arrangements. That, Abdul Kadir, if we can effect that, and it has worked in many countries, I think, to me, that will be the best thing to do. Cross the border, go to Zone 5. We call it Zone 5. I don't know what they call it now in Ethiopia. That is basically what the local government has done. The people of that region have been empowered through certain mechanisms that they take charge of their security problems without fearing, without being worried that you are surrendering the national security aspect to the people. Because you cannot, like Baron said, you cannot be taking police to the people who are not ready to work with them. Policing must be a collective approach. The people must accept, the policing must come in. We must give our elected leaders at the local level some leverage to assist the government, so long as they work within parameters of the law. That to me will be the best thing, and that is the only way, and I can say it confidently, that we can deal with the issue of Al-Shabaab in those areas that we have. Is it called homogeneous? One kind of people, one big religion, you know? So because if my MP here is my neighbor, trust me, I'll know what he does. I'll know what his homestead is doing. But just give them the powers, let them use some little money, give the government police commander, the county commissioner, let them work with the communities and set up robust. You see, this idea, just give me a few seconds, I say this.
Please.
We've been having a problem in this country where community policing belongs to the police, Nyumbakumi belongs to the county commissioners. It's the same thing. So I think what we need to do, and I'm not blaming anybody because I've been in that system for some time, we just need to reorganize community policing, make it a facet of our policing mechanism in this country, empower the systems, create them at the county level, let them work with the national government security organs.
Thank you. And Honorable Barre, can that be the remedy, given what we had witnessed in the past? Can that be the antidote to the problems that have been affecting your constituency?
I think I will largely agree with the position that is reinforced by my colleague here, that community policing is what will work. And more so, creating hope in the public, in the sense that if I take the example of my constituency, the road project, the World Bank road project is being done now in my constituency. And the people have some sense of hope because a number of them are aching and living out of that project. So they own the project and they want to defend it. Because there is a government input, developmental input that is coming to them, people have every reason to defend, you know, the country themselves from people who are, you know, luring into some other things. So that community policing and also an aspect of more developmental input into the area, I think that will build loyalty, you know, national loyalty among the people, and they will work better. But as I must say, as long as Somalia is in the state that it is now, and with the porous borders and the expansive land that we have, we'll still be having these challenges. But what is important that I have also seen, that the leadership that is in place has a very big role to play. If you're not the positive person who takes initiative on your own, If you are the type who just blame other people, things will not work for you. So you must go the extra mile, bring all those who are concerned, not from a blaming perspective, but from a collaborative and, complementary, approach to everything. I think that will work. And also sensitizing the public that this is their country, that's where they are not going to live. They must all contribute to its improvement. Thank you.
Okay, when we get back from the break, Byron, I begin with you on Honorable Haro. Given the successes by the Kenya Defence Forces, including investments in education, healthcare centers, women KDF who are helping women in southern Somalia largely, but how that can as well be reflected on the other side of the border and the sleeper cells, the fear that now the target is no longer Kenyan Somalis, but the operatives are also other Kenyans, and how that is also catapulting some of the Al-Shabaab activities in the country. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. We are back with more after the break. Stay tuned.